Good morning. I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade, also an honorary captain of the Royal Canadian Navy. Thank you so much for joining us for this Discover Trade and Investment series hosted by the Surrey Board of Trade, Surrey International Trade Center. For all of your global linkages, trade documentation needs, please visit the Surrey Board of Trade. Check out our website at businessinsurrey.com. First, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Semiahmoo, Coquitlam, and Tawasin First Nations. As well, I acknowledge the Inuit and Métis Nation people who live and work and learn and play on our land in Surrey. Everyone, events like this simply do not happen without sponsorship. Thank you so much to our Progress partners, the law firm of Fasken, the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan, represented by SNF Benefits, BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, Scotiabank, and Western Community College. Thank you so much for your continued support of Surrey's city building business organization. Just some instructions before we begin. All attendees are muted. If you do have a question, please put your question in the chat function of the technology, and we will get to your question during the question period. So as you're hearing the speakers, as they're identifying different business and market opportunities in Vietnam, please post your questions in the chat function. Now, I just wanted to mention that in Surrey, at our Surrey International Trade Center, we have about over 30 different global links, really creating those global business connections for local businesses. And we're going to be the largest city in British Columbia very soon. Our whole mandate is one of the top 10 largest chambers of commerce, boards of trades in the country. There's 430 of us, is to support business and bring business into Surrey with our international docking facility, our significant economic assets and industry diversification, and of course, we're a border city. So I wanted to ensure that you understood the significance and scope of Surrey, where we have the most industrial land inventory. A third of our land base is of agricultural industry and agricultural land. I mentioned we have the greatest number of manufacturers in British Columbia. We have a thriving health and technology district and a burgeoning clean tech industry as well. The most industrial land inventory in Metro Vancouver is right here in Surrey, meaning that we have co-location opportunities for businesses all around Canada and of course around the world, where a third of our population is under the age of 19, with a significant ecosystem of education, both public and private, to provide that human capital support. This is really where Surrey is an opportunity city. So I want to ensure that, with all of our Discover Trade and Investment Series sessions, that we're focused on different parts of the world and opportunities to link with each other. And today's focus is on Vietnam. So they have a significant history, a diverse culture, quintessential natural landscapes. But there are many more trade opportunities between Vietnam and Canada. So today we're joined by experts in trade and exporting who are going to discuss business opportunities between Canada and Vietnam. It's not only for the large business, it's for that small business, it's for that medium-sized business. It's not only if you're selling a good or making a product, it's about ensuring that all of our services anyone who's selling a service, where we're all working together to ensure positive and sustainable global economic partnerships. So everyone, our first speaker is Mr. Mun Quan Trung. He is the Consul General of Vietnam to Canada. Mr. Trung has a Bachelor of International Relations from Vietnam and a Master of International Studies from the University of Sydney, Australia. He's worked globally in the sector of international trade for decades. Everyone, let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Trung. Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Huberman, for your kind introduction. And good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank SBOT for inviting me to attend this significant event and allowing me to have some remarks. I do believe that this type of event will provide better understanding among our respective business communities on business environment and how to do business successfully in Vietnam. Recently, I had the honor to have meetings with BC government dignitaries to discuss ways aimed at promoting comprehensive relations with focus on economic relationship between Vietnam and BC. In 2023, Vietnam and Canada and British Columbia will celebrate half a century of diplomatic relations. Against that finally existing political relation background, our economic, trade and investment relations have also seen rapid development. In 2020, even though heavily affected by the pandemic, the two-way trade volume between Vietnam and BC has still reached 2 billion Canadian dollars. And in 2021, the number rose to 2.5 billion Canadian dollars. Vietnam's main exports to BC comprise of mobile phones, electronic products, textiles, furniture, metal, bicycle, motorcycles, and parts, accessories, etc. And BC's main exports to Vietnam include coal, wood products, metal scrap, pork, aquaculture, fruits, etc. In general, we think that Vietnam and BC economic and trade investment relation at the moment is good, but it's still not compatible with our potential. And we think that we should do more to place it on a higher plane. Now, relating to the question, why we choose Vietnam, I would like to make some points about relating to market opportunities in Vietnam. First, Vietnam is becoming an attractive investment destination for foreign investors, an emerging market and manufacturing powerhouse. The government of Vietnam continues strong commitment to improving investment and business environment in a more favorable, transparent, and competitive way. Vietnam has now played a key part of global and regional supply chain. Secondly, the Comprehensive Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership, the CPTPP, has brought in new opportunities for our economic, trade, and investment relations. Vietnam now is considered as the FTA center in Asia Pacific with 15 FTAs, one of the 10 economies in the world that has the biggest openness, a bridge for Canadian goods and services to get access to an ASEAN market of about 700 million customers. Taking the import tax advantages, the made in Vietnam products will gain better access to Canadian market. At the same time, Vietnam could be a potential destination for Canadian businesses to think of when seeking a new supply chain amid and after the pandemic. Being a member of CPTPP, Canadian goods enjoys Vietnam's favorable import tax. This is an advantage of Canada compared with other CPTPP non-members, especially the goods that Vietnam has been imposing high MF and the most favored nation taxes, such as pork, aquaculture products, etc. Thirdly, many localities and businesses in Vietnam are ready to deepen cooperation with the Canadian partners. So we don't only talk about Vietnam as a whole, but about the localities and businesses. And I think Mr. Binh will mention more about this in his presentation. So if the Canadian investors, businesses want to have a more concrete information about Vietnam's localities, our Consulate General in Vancouver is ready to provide the necessary information. Relating to Surrey businesses, I think the Surrey businesses could focus on the following areas. First is food and aquaculture. As you know, Vietnam exports mainly agricultural products for Asian users, such as dragon fruits, mangoes, longines, processed foods, ingredients, for example, cashew nuts. So it is very good for Surrey factories to process. Vietnam's main aquaculture products include Peneus monodon, yellow-tailed catfish, and processed seafood that might interest Surrey customers. And Surrey could export to Vietnam high-quality food and aquaculture products, which Vietnam do not have, and the demand is high, since the middle class population increase year by year. For example, they very interested in the salmon, the products like salmon, shrimp, crab, pork, beef, apple, cherry, blue cherry. One businessman told me that he imports a lot of fruits from BC, but the blueberry, the demand is very high, and the BC only meet 20% of the demand in Vietnam. So we have a lot of rooms to increase the links between the two. And Vietnam agriculture has also seen rapid development in quantity and quality. Many projects focus on clean and high quality agricultural and aquaculture production, and we need to study Surrey experiences in these areas. The second sector we want to focus on is agri-tech. Vietnam, being a developing country, is very interested in implementing advanced technologies, which we believe that Surrey is strong, like agricultural, industrial production, clean technology, healthcare, IT, etc., with a view to increasing productivity, product quality, production of high-tech products, and at the same time solving the environmental issues, ensuring workers and people's health. Secondly, Vietnam would like to cooperate with Surrey businesses in agri-tech, especially in the areas of clean agricultural products and processing, which could add value for Vietnamese farmers' products. Vietnam needs to study the way to supervise the production process and the food safety measures, the process of harvesting, preserving, packaging, so that Vietnam's fresh vegetables and fruits could be transported to remote destinations like Canada. In this regard, we think that Surrey could invest in agricultural processing factories and transfer processing technologies for Vietnam. And lastly, you know, every year, the Ministry of Trade and Industry of Vietnam held the annual Food Expo. And in 2020, Canada had attended this expo. So we wish to see many Surrey companies in the agri-tech sectors to attend and introduce Surrey agri-tech to Vietnam. The third sector we want to focus on is the wood products, the furniture manufacturing in Vietnam. It is an area where Vietnam and Surrey could cooperate effectively because of its complementary nature. You know, the BC in general has a variety of quality woods with different types, and its export to Vietnam accounts for more than 50% of Canada's export. And we think that Surrey can also play its part in this sector. And now Vietnam's furniture market has a clear advantage when the country enjoys CPTPP 0% tax, as I mentioned earlier. And lastly, we can also mention other areas that we can cooperate between Vietnam and BC and with the Surrey in particular, like in the areas of labor, education, tourism. You know, the area of education is not only education itself, no? But it also means economic value. Last year, later last year in November, the Ministry of Education and Training of Vietnam and the government of BC, represented by the two ministries, had concluded an MOU on education cooperation. And in that MOU, it refers to many different areas of cooperation. But for the first time, it refers to the setting up of Canadian offshore schools in Vietnam. And many Vietnamese educational institutions have showed interest in this. So in this event, I also want to ask the Canadian businesses in the education sectors, if you have respective schools that are interested in the Vietnamese market, they can contact through us. And I think this is a very good, it's not only means education, people-to-people contacts, but also means economy, means culture. And if we can do this, it will be very good for both Vietnam and Canada. Lastly, I want to mention one thing which is also important as a matter of fact in BC. That is about Vietnamese community in BC. Here, I want to mention about the Vietnamese business community, including new investors. We believe that the Canadian businesses of Vietnamese descent, while doing business in the native motherland, can work as a bridge between BC and Vietnam businesses. In the near future, an association of Vietnamese businessmen in Vancouver will be set up which might comprise, we think that it might comprise of Canadian businessmen. Of course, they should agree with the code of the association. Those businessmen are doing business in Vietnam, and with a view to, among other objectives of the association, to help provide necessary information about business investment environment in Vietnam and create networking necessary for doing business successfully in our country. I would like to take this opportunity to stress that due to the level of development and concrete conditions from both sides, and because the types of products and customer differ, our economic relationship, I mean the economic relationship between Vietnam and Canada in general, and between Vietnam and BC, Vietnam and Surrey in particular, is of complementary nature, not competitive. I believe that other two speakers after me once is like Mr. Binh, Mr. Binh Leonhard, who understand Vietnam well, will speak objectively to Canadian businesses about doing business in Vietnam. We believe that with a hardworking human resource of nearly 100 million people, with stable political environment, high economic growth, open trade, investment policies, competitive production cost, improved infrastructure, Vietnam is eager for further development. On behalf of the government and people of Vietnam, I would like to welcome you to Vietnam to do business successfully and to understand more about our country and people. In the end, your success is our success. And the Consulate General of Vietnam in Vancouver is ready to provide you with necessary information when requested. Finally, I would like to wish Ms. Huberman and all of you present here today the best of health, happiness, and success. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Consul General, Mr. Trung. And we look forward to a long and sustainable relationship with Vietnam to really highlight all of the continued opportunities around B2B connections and industry opportunities. Our next speaker is Bill Dow. He served as North America's chief representative for Becamex Vietnam and Binh Duong province. He has over 25 years of experience providing business consultancy and promoting foreign investments and trade into Vietnam. He has a wealth of knowledge. Please help me welcome Bill Dow. Bill, over to you.
Thank you so much for your introduction. Thank you so much for your introduction, Ms. Huberman. I'm going to show you a couple points about Vietnam. My presentation will have 3 parts. The first part, why Vietnam. The second part is why Binh Duong province. And the third part is why Becamex. As Mr. Trung said that Vietnam now has a very more important role because Vietnam is in the center of Southeast Asia. Okay, Vietnam has a big population. We have almost 99 million people. And we have a very high % rate of mobile phone use. And Vietnam has signed 16 FTA agreements with all major economy or country in the world. And Vietnam is the 3rd of ASEAN country in ASEAN in terms of startup ecosystem and in terms of population. And Vietnam also support a high-tech technology company who want to come to Vietnam. And Vietnam also launched enable government, stable government and industry 4.0. And Vietnam is part of ASEAN, and ASEAN nowadays is the 3rd largest economy in the world after China and India. And Vietnam, from Vietnam, it take only 5 hours of flight. You get to all major neighboring market that has about half of GDP of the world. Why Vietnam? Because Vietnam has very good tax incentive. If you come to Vietnam, you have two special tax incentive. It depends on your sector, location, and scale. You have a standard incentive, 2 years of tax exemption, or 4 years of 50% reduction. Or if you come to Vietnam under high technology company, or if you come to special zone, you can have 4 years of tax exemption and 9 years of 50% reduction. Okay. Also, you have import duty for export good material for zero import duty. You have zero tax exemption on VAT on export goods, and you also have tax exemption for profit repatriation when you bring your profit back to your home country. Why Vietnam? Because Vietnam has a very competitive labor cost. Labor costs in Vietnam are divided into 4 different regions. Region 1, 2, 3, 4. The region 1 is the one in Binh Duong province. The monthly wage only $190. Okay, so as like Canada, if you come to Vietnam, so you also help the employer to contribute in health insurance and employment insurance. Okay, Vietnam is the Southeast Asian country. We have a very minimum annual leave because we are not a Muslim country, so we have only 12 days. We have 10 days annual leave per year. So the next point is, if you come to Vietnam, many friends ask me how to set up a foreign company in Vietnam. What step do they have to go through? So we have to, in order to set up a foreign company in Vietnam, it's not difficult because the Vietnam government welcome the foreign company. So we have 4 steps to go to set up a foreign company in Vietnam. Step 1, pre-investment approval. Step 2, application for IRC. Step 3, application for the ERC, and step 4, post-license procedure. And in each step, you have to submit some document. So please talk to me more. You can have my contact number and you talk to me more. I can let you know more in detail about what document you're supposed to submit to Vietnam government. So many business company in Surrey asked me how to set up a sales office, a rep office in Vietnam. So you have to submit a couple documents to set up an office in Vietnam. So please talk to me. I'll let you know more about it because we don't have enough time today. So setting up an office in Vietnam, it's not difficult, it's easy. When you come to do business in Vietnam, or when you're based in Vietnam, a lot of foreign companies ask me how to get a work permit or temporary resident card in Vietnam. So we have a work permit and resident card in Vietnam for foreign investor, and we also have a work permit and a TRC in Vietnam for foreign workers. So this is what the work permit and a temporary resident card in Vietnam looks like. So of course, there's some document you need to submit. So please talk to me. I'll let you know more in detail about what document you're supposed to submit to Vietnam government, and we can help you here. Okay. So now when you talk about Vietnam, so people also talk about the business hub. If you have experience in China they have a Guangzhou province, which is a manufacturing hub, logistic supply chain hub for China. In Vietnam, we have Binh Duong province. Binh Duong is kind of, it's similar to the Guangzhou in China. Why Binh Duong? Because Binh Duong, we have a big area, we have a lot of land, industrial land, and we have a 2.4 million as a population. We have a university, and we have Binh Duong is ranked in number 1 infrastructure, and number 3 FDI attraction into Vietnam country. For GDP in Binh Duong, we have 8.95% growth rate, and Binh Duong GDP is considered as the highest GDP rate in Vietnam country. So the people come to Binh Duong because we have a young population. If you look at the chart here, you see that most of our people, okay, in the range of age from 20 to 39 years old. So at this age, considered young population, and they can help you a lot with your business development, because Binh Duong does not have a lot of old people or senior people. Why Binh Duong? Because Binh Duong will have a connection. You see that when the people talk about Vietnam, the people think about Ho Chi Minh City. You see that where Binh Duong is. Binh Duong just in the north of Ho Chi Minh City. We have a same border of Ho Chi Minh City. Like take you only 1 hour to get to Binh Duong province. It's about when you same distance when you drive from Vancouver to Abbotsford. Okay, it's not very far away. So we have all the ring road 1, 2, 3, 4 to 7 that connect to Binh Duong to neighboring city, connect to Binh Duong to the seaport in Cảng Cái Mép. You see that in right here, and also connect Binh Duong to the airport of in Ho Chi Minh City. So you don't have to go through Ho Chi Minh City as you did before, but you could do have a lot of shortcut. In Binh Duong we have 29 industrial parks. We have the most industrial land in Vietnam. We have a 12 production cluster, and in last 2 years, last year we attract $37 billion FDI that came to Vietnam. We have a 4,011 project for the project in Binh Duong from 65 countries. In Binh Duong we export 28.8 billion of exported goods to the world market. Okay, why Binh Duong? Because in Binh Duong we have the model of triple helix products, triple helix model. We connect government, industry, and research education. So Binh Duong has integrated infrastructure for business, government, and strategic location. We have a strategic location because we have the same border of Ho Chi Minh City. We are close to the airport. We are close to the seaport. We have 2 river ports, so we have all infrastructure. Okay, so you see that from Binh Duong province, Binh Duong province, we have excellent connectivity. Well, we are only 30 kilometers from the airport, Tân Sơn Airport. We are only 40 kilometers to Thị Vải, Cái Mép Seaport. We are on 30 kilometers from Ho Chi Minh City center. So you look at the Binh Duong progress in last 30 years. So we came out with the production cluster in 1990. Now we have a science technology industrial park. So in the last 25 years, we developed a lot. We've done a lot of work in Binh Duong. Okay, so in Binh Duong we have 29 industrial park. You see the Becamex in BC, we are the top 2 industrial park in Vietnam country. Okay, so you see that we are building a subway and SkyTrain from Ho Chi Minh City in the south to Binh Duong City province in the north. So in the future, it takes only 20 minutes to get to Binh Duong province from Ho Chi Minh City. We have all bus system, very convenient bus system like in Vancouver, Greater Vancouver area in the future. Now in Binh Duong, we also have an efficient bus system now. We have a great urban planning for the public transportation that connect you from the industrial park, logistics center, supply chain center, to the river port, to the airport, and to the seaport. We also are building a cargo train that bring you from the all industrial park in Binh Duong province to the seaport and airport in Đồng Nai or in Vũng Tàu province. We have 29 industrial park. You see that we in Binh Duong province, we have 5 major area. We have innovation hub. We have a science technology industrial park. We have industrial land, you know, we divided, but the capital of Bình Dương province is Thủ Dầu Một. So, you know, in order to produce highly skilled people in Bình Dương province, we have a couple of good universities and also colleges. We have for university, we have 2 universities. We have Eastern International University, developed and owned by Becamex company, and we also have a Germany Vietnam University, you know, in ERU campus. We have entrepreneurship support. We have a Becamex business incubator, and we have a great urban amenity. We have a shopping mall, we have a tennis court, we have a amusement park, we have a golf center, and we have a hospital, local hospital and international hospital. So we have incubator and fab lab, which are located in Eastern International University and also Germany Vietnam University. So we, as I said before, like we combine the 3 support from business support, from the research or education, and from a policy support from the government. So in Vietnam, in Bình Dương, the World Trade Center choose Bình Dương to set up a World Trade Center in Vietnam. So what service we have at the World Trade Center? At the World Trade Center Vietnam in Bình Dương, we have a business matching, we have a business consulting services, we have a membership system, and we have a WTC company, and we have a training and orientation program. We also give you update information about trade trend, partner and update, and we're building a WTC World Trade Center Gateway, and we're also building a WTC exposition. The WTC exposition and center is located in Bình Dương province. We also have Bình Dương province has the second science technology industrial park. So we are getting the government the license from the government to have a science technology industrial park in Bình Dương, where we combine the 3 support from the cluster university, from science technology industrial park, from a university town. These will show you some activity from our university, from Eastern International University, and VGU. VGU stands for Vietnam Germany University. Okay, so Becamex, we have 4 major partners. The first partner we have is Samcorp. We have a Vietnam Singapore Industrial Park. We do joint venture with Samcorp. We partner with Warburg Pincus, the biggest US equity fund in US. We build the logistic and supply chain infrastructure. We build a ready-built factory, warehousing, and also a bonded warehouse. We partner with Tokyo Corporation, the biggest Japan real estate company. We're building a Japantown in Vietnam, and we also partner with NTT to build up a telecommunication company. You know, I also based in Surrey. I take care of US and Canada market for Becamex in Bình Dương province. Besides Surrey office, I also have office in Seattle, Washington. So you can contact me if you have if you need any assistance. You can use your phone now to take a picture of my email and contact number. So thank you so much for your listening today, for your attention, and I talk to you later for the Q&A section. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Our next and final speaker is Ryan Leonhard. He's the previous executive director of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce based in Vietnam. Ryan, over to you.
Thanks, Anita, and hello, everybody. So I'm going to speak to you a little bit about how to do business from a Canadian perspective as someone who's lived in Vietnam for about 6 years. Normally, this is about a 45-minute to an hour presentation. I've streamlined it. So if you have any questions or if I leave any gaps, please do feel free to ask questions at the end. So first and foremost, I think the most important thing for Canadians is to understand the context, because there is a very big difference in how business is done in Vietnam versus how business is done in Canada. And that is often cited as one of the bigger challenges that Canadian business people face when they try to do business in Vietnam. So first, just to build a little bit of a foundation, as I believe Bill and Mr. Trung mentioned, there's almost 100 million people who live in Vietnam. Almost 70% are between the ages of 15 and 64, and the median age is 30. On top of that, you have an economy that since 2000 has grown annually between 5 and 8%, with GDP per capita growing nearly 700%. And so these two things in particular are creating a very favorable market for Canadians. And I'm going to get to that a little bit more specifically in a moment. But when you look at all of the growth that's happened over the last 22 years, you have to think about the impact that has on industry. So industry generally has been growing incredibly quickly. But when you have that kind of growth, it comes with growing pains. So in many cases, infrastructure is kind of being a little bit dragged behind and trying to keep up with all of the industrial growth. And that's not to say infrastructure isn't growing as well. It's just that in many cases, it can't keep up. Traffic infrastructure is perhaps a great example of this, in that a lot of the road system was built for motorcycle traffic, as most people drive motorcycles in Vietnam. But you start to add cars and buses to the mix, and the next thing you know, you have massive traffic jams. Just to give you a bit of color on that, I used to commute 7.8 kilometers to work in the morning, and it would often take me about 45 minutes. One of the upsides of how infrastructure is being built, though, is that, as Mr. Trung mentioned, it's really stimulated by FDI attraction. So a lot of the industrial zones are very, well, they're set up to be welcoming and to be supportive of foreign businesses. And so it means that infrastructure demand from foreign companies is often met or, you know, catered to. So industry and infrastructure are growing really quickly. There's still some challenges there, but they're being addressed quite quickly. So the opportunities that come alongside all of this growth are, I would think, fairly obvious. You have a huge population. Almost 100 million people projected to grow 1% a year for the next 20 years. You have a middle class that's growing very quickly, and they spend their money. So suddenly you're tapping into a market of people who have access to money, have access to credit. There's 100 million of them, and that creates a great opportunity for Canadian products and services. Going the other direction, there's a lot of opportunity for product sourcing, for manufacturing, and even for services outsourcing in Vietnam, because when you have a population that big, in many cases, the supply of labor actually outweighs demand. And so for Canadian businesses to tap into that, I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And there are a few Canadian businesses that are doing that, and mostly in ICT, but you can start to create a 24-hour work cycle if you have, you know, your base in Canada. I can think of one example out of Ottawa that's working in design and development, and they're working on the Canadian side, and then you have the Vietnamese side that's doing the development and the design, and then it kind of becomes a little circular that way, so you get a lot more hours worked per day. There is absolutely an advantage for Canadian businesses there because Canada has such a solid brand in Vietnam. There's a lot of reasons for this, but perhaps the biggest is that a lot of Vietnamese people tend to look at Canada as a bit of a social welfare haven. It's a place that shares a lot of values with Vietnam around education for one, and well, many others too. For two seemingly very different countries, we do celebrate a lot of the same sort of priorities in our people. And that has led to a lot of Vietnamese people wanting to immigrate to Vietnam, or to Canada rather. And in particular, that is happening in education. So the last stats I saw were from 2018 or 2019, and you had 20,000 study permits for Vietnamese international students. And that's an advantage for Canadians doing business in Vietnam, or who have interest in doing business with Vietnam, because you're creating future professionals that have a vested interest, knowledge, and contacts in both countries. And that really builds a bridge between the two countries. So that's something that can be tapped into. Mr. Trung mentioned as well that there is a fairly large existing Vietnamese population in Vancouver that can be tapped into as well. And I strongly encourage anyone who wants to pursue opportunities in Vietnam to tap into those networks. There wouldn't be opportunities in Vietnam if there weren't also challenges. And in my experience, one of the things that prevents Canadians from doing business in Vietnam is that they're not really aware of the challenges or how to navigate them. And so I'd like to briefly talk on that. Probably the biggest thing you need to know, and one of the more frustrating challenges at times, is how incredibly dependent business success is on relationships. Vietnam is a relationship-based business environment in a way that most Canadians have a very difficult time understanding. If you don't build trust with the people that you're doing business with or with your partners, you're not going to have any success. That trust is more important than contracts in many cases. So building relationships and maintaining them, constantly staying in contact, is a huge aspect of having success in Vietnam. And just as a side note, a silver lining of the pandemic for Canadians who want to do business with Vietnam is that with the prevalence of platforms like Zoom and Teams and all of that, it makes it a lot easier to stay in touch. So you're not having to go to Vietnam a few times a year to really maintain those relationships. Transparency, more specifically graft and transparency, has of course been a problem in Vietnam in the past, in large part because it is so relationship based. That still exists today, but the Vietnamese government has done a lot of work to try to stamp it out, and the business environment is becoming significantly more transparent every year. And just even during the 6 years I was there, it has gotten much better and a lot more welcoming, and yes, just a lot easier to do business comfortably and confidently. The ease of doing business is getting a lot better as well, but you still have a very significant amount of intensive admin, labor-intensive admin, which requires just a lot of time. That is getting streamlined every year. It gets a little bit better because there's a lot of policy that changes quite regularly, which comes with its own challenges. When policy changes, often anything in process will have to start from the beginning again, or will be put on hiatus until everybody understands exactly what that policy means, which is one of the challenges that needs to be navigated for Canadians who want to do business there. Licensing, Bill talked about it a little bit. It can be challenging if you're not working with somebody who knows how to get things done. So ease of doing business, not always the easiest, but it is getting better, and there is a lot of resources to support any Canadians who want to do business there, which will make things a lot easier. Kind of in the same vein, navigating the hierarchy of businesses can be difficult as well. When you have massive corporations, things tend to stall out a little bit in the middle. During my time as executive director at the Chamber, I can think of many examples where I worked with a CEO or a managing director or a high-level executive, and we came to an agreement. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And then it moves down a few rungs on the hierarchy, and things stall out, and I have to go back to the top again. So it takes a little bit of practice to make sure that things get done. But again, that comes down to trust, communication, and the relationships you have within any partner organizations. And then probably the most timely of the challenges that I'm going to mention is that there is increasing competition in the market. While Canada may be part of the CPTPP, Vietnam is part of many different trade agreements, and there is a lot more established businesses from different nations than there are from Canada in Vietnam. So while we did start in second-year tariff reductions between Canada and Vietnam, and are pretty far ahead in terms of what those reductions are across different goods, there are other trade agreements and there are other nations that are already doing business in Vietnam. And so the window for really taking advantage of the CPTPP is starting to get narrower and narrower. So Vietnam is a very different country across the world. A lot of Canadians don't really know how to get started. There are a lot of resources out there to support any Canadians who even just want to explore the opportunity. To start, there's the Trade Commission Service. They've expanded dramatically over the last 5 years in Vietnam. So you can reach out to the consulate in Ho Chi Minh City or the embassy in Hanoi. And they have staff that it's their job to help you. As long as you are fitting the definition of client for the TCS, they will be able to support you for free, whether that be with contacts, whether that be with introductions, or just consultation. So they're a great resource. The EDC is another great resource. They have a lot of programs right now that will, I don't want to say guarantee your investment, but they will really support any opportunities abroad, including Vietnam. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce there. CanCham is a great resource. There's a lot of things that they can do that the TCS can't, just simply by nature of how they're structured. They're there, they'll be there for consultations, to make warm introductions, all sorts of things. So if you're considering opportunities in Vietnam, I strongly recommend that you reach out to the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And my successor, Zach Herbers, the new ED there. Another thing you can look at is trade acceleration programs, like the one run out of World Trade Center, Vancouver. Their TAP program really does kind of coach people through what they need to get done. So you can tap into that, no pun intended, if you're looking at opportunities in Vietnam and want the support to kind of put together how you're going to do it. This one might be a little bit out there, but there's a lot of MBA programs running out of Canada, including Royal Roads, that do delegations there and take on clients, which are Canadian businesses that are interested in the Vietnam market. And they'll do the market research, they'll put together B2B programs, all sorts of things. So that's something that you could look into as well. And last but not least, firms in the market. So market entry firms, I strongly recommend that you use a third party if you're going into Vietnam, just because there is a lot of different licensing and papers to be navigated. Bill mentioned that, and I think that that is something definitely in the best interest of Canadians who want to do business in Vietnam. So how to get started now? See what support is available. Reach out to the EDC, reach out to the TCS, CanCham, whatever resources you want to tap into, see what they can do, what you need to do for your part, and how you can get started there. Check your network. Because Vietnam is so relationship oriented, knowing a few people who are actively doing business in Vietnam is such an advantage. Reach out to Canadians who are working there. Reach out to CanCham and start to get to know some of the members. Anecdotal information from any professionals, but specifically Canadian professionals that are working in Vietnam, is so valuable. And well, yeah, reach out and connect to those people. Start tapping into the Vietnamese community here, the Canadian community in Vietnam, and then lastly, start building relationships now. They're really the core of how business is done there. So the more time you spend building relationships now, the more dividends it'll pay over the longer term. The last thing I want to say before I finish up my presentation is when I've hosted delegations to Vietnam, I'm often asked, what do I need to know about Vietnam? How can I understand this country better? And what I've encouraged people to do is go out during rush hour and just watch traffic for a few hours. Have a coffee, have a beer, whatever it is, and just watch. Because you start to understand that there is an organized chaos while you're watching, tens of thousands of people drive through, cut each other off, move ahead, go on the sidewalk, whatever. But the reason I get people to watch that is because when you realize that there is an organization to that chaos, and if you can siphon off just a tiny piece of it, in a country of 100 million people, that has a lot of power or a lot of potential revenue generation. So take a look at traffic. It's very entertaining, but think about how that speaks to what you might tap into in Vietnam. If you can take just a small piece of that, there's a lot of success to be found there. So that's it for me. I will throw my email in the chat box as well. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. While I may no longer be with the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, I'm such a huge advocate for Canadian opportunities in Vietnam. And really the best advice I can give you is just dive in. yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Ryan. We do not have time for questions, but we do have a Vietnam portal on our International Trade Center section of our website at businessinsurrey.com. The recording of this session, information about doing business in Vietnam, the presentations that you've seen here will be on that portal. And the other piece I wanted to say to everyone is that we here at the Surrey International Trade Center also provide training support linkages through our Export Spark program to any businesses that are entering different global markets. So it's not only based in Vancouver, but also a different version of it in Surrey. That is quite comprehensive, especially for the small and medium-sized business community, which drives the economic engine of Canada. Thank you so much to all of our speakers today. And we're focused on Vietnam, the Surrey Board of Trade. We look forward to continued engagement, look forward to hearing more about the International Trade Awards in Surrey coming up later this spring. And everyone, make it a great business day.